and the green and white upon my chest. It's such a joy for us to see, for they play football the Celtic way, for they play football the Celtic way, for they play football the Celtic way, 'cause they play football the Celtic way.
How you doing?
Sack the board, sack the board. We're going to get into that, don't worry about that. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your Friday Focus Show. Andy, it feels like a lifetime since we've been on, mate. How's your week been, my man?
Actually, all right, mate. I was just get back here for Ireland this afternoon. So I was earlier all week, I think. Aye. I was off on Monday, so I didn't start back to Tuesday. I've been earlier all week. So no bad. Good to be home. Good to be on with you guys on a Friday night. Always good. So looking forward to it. Plenty to chew the fat here. Certainly,
Yes.
the content's going to be good.
Certainly is, mate. And obviously, we're playing your favourite team this weekend as well. So I've only turned up to watch your David Martindale rants, mate. That's what I'm here for, right? That's it. Everybody's tuning in for that. You love him, really, don't you, Andy? You love him, really.
No.
Patrick, how are you getting on, sir? How have you been? I've not seen you for ages as well, mate. How's things?
It feels like it, Scott, doesn't it? It really does, with the sort of interruption in the middle of the week with the game being on and stuff like that. So it feels as though it's ages since we've been on. But yep, all good for me too. Just had a busy week at work. Finished now. We get the Monday bank holiday. We get that Monday off. So I'm not back until Tuesday now. So me and the wee man will be heading away in the morning to the Livingston game. So early start in the morning for us. But all good here and good to be back on with you guys.
Excellent, mate. Excellent. So as Andy alluded to there, we do have plenty to talk about. First of all, we're going to get into the main man's press conference. I was expecting a bit of fireworks today from Brendan Rodgers. As ever, I haven't watched it or listened to it. I like to see what Andy comes up with, and he's got a wee 5-minute clip here. It was a 20-odd minute press conference, ladies and gentlemen, but Andy has managed to shorten it down to about 5 minutes. So I'll chuck that on for you just now, and then we will go over it.
Alistair Johnson, what's the update on him?
Yeah, not great. He'll probably be about 12 weeks. So he's obviously had his scan yesterday. So yeah, it's disappointing for him because he's come back and started well. So but yeah, that's where we're at. But it'll provide an opportunity for someone to step in, and we know we have Tony. I've got young Kobe Donovan, who, as a young player here, has really impressed me over the time I've been back here, and in this last 12 months, he's made great strides. So yeah, it's always an opportunity for someone. But of course, for Ali, we just want to make sure that we're in a really good position in all competitions when he gets back. My first look is always inside. And that's something that will gain more clarity over the next week or so, but that's certainly my first look. Yeah, no, I'm very stable on it. Naturally, you're disappointed you didn't win, but this team have given me a lot of value in this early part of the season, working very, very hard in pre-season, started our league season really well. We didn't start well in the first half, which I've said all along. The first 5 minutes of games is really important, and for some reason we were a bit lethargic and lacked energy and lacked speed and tempo, and only a few days earlier on the Friday we were excellent in all of that. But the reality is we're still very much in that tie, and in many ways it's fairly simple now, because I think the expectation going into the game was from people outside that this will be an easy tie, and we've won 5-0 before against a team in Kazakhstan, and won other games 5-2, and of course we'd love to have done that, but we didn't. And but we're still very much in the tie, and we know that we now know what's at stake, and we will go there on Tuesday to look to qualify. So it's as I said, in certain moments of the game, we could have been better. But it's still 0-0, and we have still a big chance of qualification. We've analysed the game. We'll refresh our team tomorrow because it's a massive game for us on Tuesday. But still, our focus is very much on our game against Livingston. But I believe when that game comes on Tuesday, we'll be in a really good place to get through. Yeah, Adam Ida's struggling with his knee. Austin Trusty could be out for a bit with the plantar fascia issue that he's had. Daizan has just, we've probably had to use him more than we would have liked, but he's okay. But just a bit stiff and crampy, but yeah, apart from that, injury wise, it'll be the same squad. I want what's the best for Celtic, and I want us to be really successful in this short to long period. But no, listen, people will try and look to find that conflict between me and the board or me and whoever. It really isn't the case. You know, the board here at the football club have over many years managed the financial side of the game and ran the club to an impeccable level. My job here as the football manager is to really drive and demand, and for us to live in a cycle where we understand that we will lose some players, but that it doesn't have this massive impact that it seems to sometimes do, and that we can just lose big players and then bring in other ones rather than to wait. So that cycle I want us to be in. But there's certainly no conflict. Everyone at this club, from the board to myself, we want the very, very best for Celtic, you know, and for me, longer term, I don't think so much as the manager. We had the chances over the summer, but I said, now the season starts, I only want to think of the football. I don't want to think of the contract, just think of the football, and that will come away later on if it does.
Some fans are even worried you may walk before then, considering the situation.
No
Can you put their fears at rest?
Yeah, no, absolutely no chance. No chance. We've done that one before. It didn't go down well. So no. Listen, I said from the first day, and there's no hidden messages, and there's no this and that. I said I'd be here for 3 years. I'm here for 3 years.
Are you expecting much the same from Livingston as you're used to? When David Martindale changed his style a bit last season to get them promoted, you're intrigued as to how they'll approach this?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing David. I really like him, and obviously still being in contact with him, because I was conscious that when I come back here and then they weren't in the league, and when I was here the first time they were in the league. So, but I do like him. I like his passion. I think he's done a brilliant job at Livingston, and so happy for him and his club, because it's a very, very good club that they're back in.
Okay. What's to talk about there, Andy? I think the main thing, though, mate, that we need to have a quick chat about first before we dissect the press conference is pretty devastating news, really. AJ is out for roughly around 12 weeks. It did look a badging on the night, and it's been confirmed, mate. 12 weeks. Going to miss him.
It's a big 3 month, mate, you know, and you're hoping that if it is that length of time, and when he comes back, he's going to be the same player he has been since the start of the season. Him and KT have been standouts in the team, really gutting, an integral party to our team, to our backline, especially as an attacking force. Him and KT both this season have probably been our most attacking threat, the two fullbacks, which is really sad to say. Obviously very good for them, but you know, it's just, and then obviously he's talking about, you know, Donovan and Ralston, and you're thinking surely Celtic's going to, even if it's a half a season loan player or something, they need to get somebody in. They can't. I know he's a bricky, and you know he's always kind of reliable and stuff like that. We are getting into a Champions League qualifier, and hopefully we do get the job done. And if we do get through, if we're struggling against teams like what's their name again? Have we even forgotten them?
Kairat.
I was going to say Karagandhi, Almaty. Then if we get into group stages and we're getting 8 games against a lot better opposition than that, then it's worrying times. So we really need to get a finger out when it comes to recruit. That's another one add to the list of people we need on that we probably won't get. So it could be a devastating blow for us losing AJ.
Aye, he's certainly a key player in the team, Paddy. And as Brendan said, and as Andy said as well, he has started the season very well without his wee pal Kuhn in front of him. So he's having to, do a bit of makeshift with Forrest and Yang and, Nigrin when he goes in there as well. Just starting to build relationships. And as Andy said, it's a key part of the season. We obviously, the playoff game, the Glasgow Derby coming up. It's not what you want to be hearing at this point of the season. And he's just going to be a massive loss for Celtic over the next 12 weeks.
It's a crushing blow for Brendan. And for ourselves, Scott, there's no other way of looking at it. Alistair Johnson has become a very, very important part of the team. He's a very important part in how we play and how the attacks are started from the back out. We've already seen that, I think there are times when maybe he just doesn't trust Yang to go forward enough with the ball. Maybe when James A. Forrest is playing, he goes a wee bit further forward because he trusts James. But
yeah,
it's a major blow. I said it when I saw it happening. I thought it was a bad one. I just knew it was a bad one. The fact that they wouldn't let him walk off the pitch, they took him off on a stretcher. The fact that he was all strapped up and using crutches, not allowed to weight bear. So to me, it has to be either a grade 2 or a grade 3 tear. The grade 3 tear would be similar to the one that Kyogo done in his first season. And the danger with that is, when you come back, if you come back even a week, two weeks early, it can go again. Is exactly what happened with Kyogo. If you remember we brought Kyogo back for a game against St Johnstone at McDermott Park, and he lasted 6 minutes or 7 minutes or something. It went again, and then literally. He literally had to play on one leg in that League Cup final against Hibs, even though he scored 2 goals. So it's a very, very bad injury for him. It's a massive blow for the player. He started really well. He's been one of our shining lights so far. We haven't had an awful lot to sing and shout about, but Alistair Johnson was just showing signs of coming on to a real game again and being a really key player for us. So the worrying thing for me, Scott, is, as Brendan's talking there about, young Colby Donovan, without a doubt, that young lad has impressed me every time I've seen him as well. But as Andy said, we could be potentially looking, 4 weeks down the line, 6 weeks down the line, you could be going to places like the San Siro, you could be going to the Bernabeu, you could be going to Bayern Munich, and I'm sorry, but, young Colby Donovan is just not ready for that, that level of football yet. Anthony Ralston is your stand-in right back, but we all know that Anthony Ralston has a lot of limitations to what he can do. He's a good stay-at-home, steady Eddie defender, but he's not of the caliber of Alistair Johnson by a long shot. I have no fears about playing Anthony Ralston. That's not what I'm saying. But if we are serious about looking at the Champions League, we need to go out and get ourselves an experienced campaigner to play in that right back area until Johnson comes back. As Andy said, we need to look at even alone till January to see how we are, because I think that's possibly the time scale that we're actually looking at. I really don't see Alistair Johnson kicking much football between now and Christmas. I really don't see that. That injury is going to keep him out for quite some time. Brendan's putting a brave face on it at 12 weeks. That's 12 weeks probably before he's allowed to do anything with that. And then he has to start the whole process over again of getting fit and getting sharp again. So, it could be quite a while before we see him again. But, we can't be penny pinching and stuff. We've got plenty of money in the bank. As regards the other positions, I know we're still trying to fill other positions, and we'll get to that as we go through the pod. But this one here, for me, the severity of the injury and the time that he's going to be out, for me, it should be an absolute no-brainer for the recruitment team. We need to be going out and recruiting another experienced right back that can adequately cover for Alistair Johnson, especially when we're in the Champions League.
Scotty, just before we move on, I just want to quickly, obviously I mentioned the Champions League and having AJ missing. we're going to need him domestically as well. You know, it's not just Europe. And then even if we don't get into the Champions League, God forbid, you're into the Europa League. So, you know, it's still very good teams in that as well. So I think you're getting exposed no matter what the situation is.
Yeah. And the type of player, Andy, the type of player that Anthony Ralston is, you know, he's an all-action, you know, full tilt. He doesn't draw back. He doesn't pull back. You know, an injury to Alistair, to Anthony Ralston. You know, where do we go with that? You know,
or even a suspension. He's that type of player that he could quite easily get booked or sent off, and then you're left with Donovan. You've got nobody else.
That's the one thing about him that Anthony Ralston will run through brick walls for us. There's no question of that. But you know, even an ordinary injury that rules him out for a fortnight or 3 weeks or something like that. You know, where do we go with that then? You know what I mean? So it should be a no-brainer.
Aye, I agree with Andy. I think a loan deal for somebody has to be looked at, and as we all know, the EPL teams they get their squad out and then they get rid of a load of players. They tell me there isn't a £5 to £10 million right back sitting in England that's not even going to get in a EPL squad, you know. So that sort of player would fit in perfectly at Celtic for 3 months for a 6-month loan. I don't see any issues there. Hopefully the team are on top of that. So it was quite, again, Brendan for me is a bit too quick. He jumps the gun sometimes with things like that. Oh, we're not bringing MD in. You know, we've got Ralston, we've got this other young boy. Just sit back and look at it and say, right, you know, we've got, you know, another sort of 10 days. If there's one available, as Paddy said, we've got the money. How can we not bring him in? Yeah. You know, it's a bit...
Scotty, it's so strange to me because 1 minute Brendan's moaning about not getting players in. There's a situation he's got to get a player in, and he's batting it off as if, again, down to this, it's irrelevant. I'm going to work with the players I've got, and then the next minute he's moaning about it. And then obviously the fans are on top of that. I know we've not the chance to speak about us about striker board, and we're probably going to talk about it.
Yeah.
But, you know, so the fans are riled up enough because they're reacting to his reaction to the inaction in the transfer market. The fans are getting frustrated. Then they're singing sack your board. Whether you think it's appropriate during the game or not, we're trying to score a goal. I've heard people say that. If you don't say it then, when are you saying it? You're saying it outside the stadium after the game when no eyes are on you. You know, so they've got to get the message out there sometimes. So I think they were quite right in doing it when they did. And I've just went off and forgot what the hell I'm talking about. But just carry on, mate.
No, you're bang on, mate. So let's get our teeth into the rest of the press conference, Andy. Was there anything in there? There was a couple of things. Brendan said, you know, he's not going anywhere, regardless of what MD says. That was one of the things. Trusty looks like he's getting an injury. Ida, thank God, has got an injury. Hopefully he gets better soon, but it's actually good news. Brendan did say he was going to ring the changes for the Livingston game anyway. So a few injuries, obviously AJ, Jota long term. So we expect to see the likes of McCowan, Bernardo maybe get a wee taste of the action tomorrow. But again, we'll talk about that when we cover the Livingston game at the end. Tilio looks like he's going in a permanent now. Looks like that deal's been renegotiated. And he's going to be away for 1.3 million. You sent me the Paul McStay link on the Frank McAvenny podcast. Paul McStay was actually talking about him and said he was phenomenal in Australia, but he can't date over here, so it looks like he's fully off. Loads to get your teeth into, mate. Was there anything in there that stuck out for you in his press conference?
Obviously talking about the injury to Ida. I suppose that could be seen as a positive, especially for Shin. You know, so maybe we'll get to see Shin a wee bit of him. He's not started any games yet. Had very little time, when you think about it, and very little kind of service and opportunity as well. So I think it's a good opportunity for him if he does come in. And as you said, you mentioned Bernardo and McCowan coming in there as well. He did say he was going to make changes. So I think we can expect that to happen. And the players like Bernardo, who seems to have way out the picture when it comes to getting on the park for Celtic, which is really unfortunate because the guy's a great player. I'm convinced he's a great player. He comes with great pedigree for the Benfica Academy. So not to be sniffed at. Captaining his under-21s national team as well. So, you know, the guy's got the leadership skills as well. He's a mature player. And I don't think he's had a real fair crack at the whip, certainly not this season. So it gives him a wee opportunity as well. McCowan has been very good. I like him as a player. He's a hardy wee character. Good skills as well. And he's a fan. He's absolutely committed as well. So I think it's an opportunity for players that have been in the kind of fringes to get a wee chance. Just touching on Inamura, you know, a guy that came in. Brendan said right away he wasn't going to be in the team. He'd be away on loan somewhere.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
Aye. So then you think that putting Scales in there to cover him is a better option than Inamura. And for what I seen for Inamura, he looked very good. And Brendan said that he said after he's seen it, I was pleasantly surprised. He said, you know, so there's just some really strange things going on at Celtic that are very hard to put your thumb on and figure out what the hell is going on. Some of the things are just absolutely baffling.
It's bonkers, mate. Paddy, you know, can you pick the bones out of that press conference, mate? Was there anything in there that sort of stuck it to yourself?
Scott, the overriding emotion that I felt after was that's him. He's rubber stamping the fact that he's here for 3 years and that'll be it. He talked about the contract that was discussed on the table, off the table, whatever it was over the summer. It wasn't signed. Was it offered? You know, there's still a bit of a confusion around that. But, you know, again, he started the season. He hasn't signed the contract, or whether they have offered him a contract. And I just think this is going to rumble on all season long, with the possibility that it's going to derail everything we're trying to do. But I think it's clear from his body language. You know, I think that's, you know, he knows himself. He would probably be tempted to walk away again after what's happened. But, you know, you heard him try to make light of it. You know, that we tried that before and it didn't go down too well, and he knows that, and he would never ever risk the wrath of the fans again with the like of that. But he has to be frustrated, Scott. The guy has to be. There's no question of that. You know, and you can talk to your blue in the face about Trusty and Engels and Ida costing 26 million, but those guys cost 26 million, and we still had Kyogo and we still had Nicholas Kuhn in that squad as well. You know, now we've lost Kuhn and we've lost Kyogo, and they knew for months that Kyogo was going, and they knew for weeks that Kuhn was going. You know, and you know, even if that money had been spent, and that's what the reason they're saying that the board gave them 26 million and they didn't exactly work out all right. But you know, they still haven't replaced those two players. You know, that's. You know, so he absolutely has to be frustrated. He knows himself the workings of the club, and he knows the constraints that they have to work under. But, you know, it's just absolutely farcical that we're still sitting here as we're about to turn August into September. You know, Kyogo left in January. Nicholas Kuhn, basically, we all knew he was going, and he went as soon as the window opened, and there's not even been an adequate replacement for those two players. And then you could also factor in Jota was injured the day we won the championship at Tannadice. That's not been addressed or replaced in any way, shape, or form. So that doesn't exactly fill me with confidence where it comes to this injury to Alistair Johnston. That's an equally serious injury that's ruling Johnston out. So are we just going to take the same attitude to the Johnston injury that they've taken with the Jota injury? You know, there's been nothing there. So, you know, I feel for the guy. I do feel for the guy because he's been hung out to dry by them, and he's been asked to really operate with one hand tied behind his back. I know we'll get to the Kairat game, you know, and that, you know, but you know, we said it weeks ago. You know, the Champions League group stage qualification could probably represent 60 million to a club like Celtic. Easily 60 million pound in extra revenue. My point is, you know, if we had given Brendan another 12 million to buy two players at £6 million, you know, would that have made a difference? As somebody asked me the other day, if we had a fully fit Kyogo and a fully fit Nicholas Kuhn in that team on Wednesday night, would that game have finished 0-0? I very much doubt it. So that's, you know, why not spend the 6 million, the 12 million, and, you know, to sort of more or less guarantee that you're going to make the 60 million instead of this risk taking that they go. You know, this tie is still very much winnable, but it's also losable as well. We've left ourselves a hell of a lot to do here. You know, as we said last week, the problems that Celtic are going to have as they go to Kazakhstan are not going to be the Kazakhstan team. It's going to be all the nonsense that goes along with that: the travel, the heat, the conditions, the altitude. That's all going to come into it, you know. So that he just looks like a man to me. He just looks like a man that knows he's up against it, and he knows himself that he's gone at the end of the season. And is it the case now that, you know, the board are seeing? And they maybe know that he's going at the end of the season. So why will we give him any more money? Why would we throw any more money at him when he's not going to commit? I said that in one of the previous pods that it's a catch-22 situation. They want him to commit. He won't commit until they back him. They won't back him until he commits. So it's a question of who blinks first. And when you see his body language and his demeanour there today, I think he's very comfortable in his own skin, but he's definitely very, very unhappy. The comments on Wednesday night, Scott, were the most telling of the whole lot. We know that these non-disclosures that they sign and confidentiality contracts and stuff like that. But him saying there that there's only so many excuses that I can make for us being where we are. That was as close to the bone as he could go with his comments after the match. You know, so. That was my take from him there. He's perfectly comfortable. He's perfectly happy. He is absolutely not going to walk away again because he knows how upsetting it was for his family, for him, for the supporters. He knows how much it hurt everybody. But I just think that's absolutely clear to me that there's not a hope that he goes beyond the third season.
Do you know what, Scotty? Sorry to interrupt. I don't think Brendan had any intention of staying beyond the 3 years. So Brendan was only here to clean a stain for his last time here.
Yeah.
So, but no matter what, he says he's going to be here for the 3 years, and he will. And the board know that. Now the board need to back him for the three years that he's here, not for the 2 years that they choose to back him. You know, even if he isn't here. The club's still going to be here. We're still here, you know, so we deserve better. We deserve investment. The fans are asked to invest in so many taps that come out, season tickets, all the rest of it, all these pre-season games, and it stinks to high heaven. And I seen an image, I think it was a day or yesterday, a guy in the main stand turning around having a go at Nicholson, and he the way the picture looked, and I also seen the video footage, and they were looking about as if to say, are they booing us? Why are they having a go at us? Now, they were surprised. I think they live in a totally different stratosphere for where the fans are and how they feel about things. There's no connection between the board and the fans. There's certainly no communication, that's for sure. There is none. We've heard absolutely hee-haw for Nicholson. It's an absolute disgrace. So the only snippets you're getting is for Brendan. So you're getting his opinion that he's got to toe the party line, but his own personality's coming out here as well because he's absolutely pig sick that he's not getting the proper backing that we deserve. Not even him. We deserve it.
Yeah.
So it's and just another thing, Scotty. He touched on Dyson Maida as well, right? And he said, "Oh, I've not been able to arrest him." Which means you've not been able to fucking 5 games into a season or something. What do you need a rest for? Absolute pish.
Yeah.
I think he's been turned as well with speculation. He's not like the same player, you know. So we have been getting the results recently, domestically. But I think, you know, that we're no firing in all cylinders. That it's very disjointed in the team the way we're playing. And by the way, I don't think it's a bad thing that Brendan goes at the end of the season because I think we need something. I think, listen, he's a very successful manager, knows how to win trophies, but sometimes the football is pish to watch. It certainly is. So we need an injection of something.
Aye, I heard Ange Postecoglou's out of job, lads. So let's see. We'll take him back in a heartbeat, I think. So one of the guys on the podcast, our Kaiser, he's in the chat this evening. We're hoping to get him on, but he's in the chat watching, and he's been doing a bit of a Paul the Tim thing. So he's been stalking the rest of the lads on the pod. Andy, here he is with yourself outside Celtic Park for the Falkirk game, I believe that was. And they also bumped into our Alec Baldwin, our Jerry. They had a wee pint as well. Andy, was it good to finally meet up with our Kaiser?
He's fucking bonkers, mate. He's bigger. He's bigger in person than you think. You just see him in that wee box, but he's a hefty character. Big, he's solid. But
I seen that.
I
I
can't
said
die.
he's got the Jack Grealish calves there, isn't he, man? He's got some
He
size
has
of
me.
calves.
Aye. I think I look at my chicken legs. I think 2 of my chicken legs would maybe fit inside one of his.
Oh, brilliant. And Paddy, the Kaiser seems to think, and Andy, I think you're trying to keep away from him. What's going on there? How come you haven't met up yet? What's going on?
I think I must be next. Looking at those 2 pictures, I must be next in the firing line. So I'll have to look out for him and see. I'm not sure if he's going to the game tomorrow or not, but if he is, I'll be more than happy to get a wee picture with him too. But no, he's good. They're all good lads. They're all good lads. Andy, Jerry, Kaiser, they're all good lads. They wouldn't be part of the 4-Leaf Clover podcast if they weren't now.
Aye, bang on, mate. Absolutely bang on. So let's get into Wednesday night's debacle then, lads, against Kairat Almaty. So, Andy, that was the starting lineup. I think we were all hiding behind the couch again when Ida's name got shouted out. He got hauled off at half-time. Again, absolutely dreadful. Forrest didn't have a good game either for me, which was quite surprising. In fact, there wasn't many, let's be honest. What was your thoughts on that starting lineup when you seen it, Andy?
No surprise, to be honest with you. I think it was easily picked, in my opinion. I think it was always going to go with either. I don't think he fancies Shin, but the way things are going, he's going to have to rely on him. Obviously, with Ida being out, and unless he goes with Kenny, but I just don't see it at all. Just touching on that game, it was just where do you start with us? There was just a lack of intensity and belief. There was a real lack of, as if everybody was shot shy. You know, nobody was willing to take a wee shot to goal, almost try to walk it in. It just wasn't happening. They were man on man when it came to kind of, you know, try to find space for our players. So it found it incredibly tight. We should be used to situations like that. We play in Scotland against teams who basically keep their whole team behind the ball most of the time. So we should be used to organised defences and stuff like that. We should be able to kind of create more. With absolute no creation in that team at all. The forward line was just invisible. Exactly. You get 15 corners and nothing comes fair at all. No threats at all. I think maybe Scales had an opportunity when it came to basically hee-haw. Very little to write home about. Really disappointing. One of the most disappointing performances I've seen for a long time for Celtic in a vitally important game against a... Listen, they're in Europe, they're entitled to be there, they're entitled to go for the Champions League as being champions for their country, but there's how many? 200 odd places behind us, or maybe more than that. It's you know, are they better than Aberdeen? Are they better than St Mirren? You know, I don't think they are. I think that's kind of the level. So there's absolutely, and you can say obviously we do need recruitment, but you look at that team and you say, well, you fancy them at home. No, you fancy Celtic to get a victory. You were all talking about 3-4. Now we need at least 4 goals to go there. We can't score one. Create very little. In fact, we get a goal scored against us, and it's just just fortunate enough it was offside. Otherwise, it could be even worse. Yeah, because we didn't look threatening at all. Dyson had a chance and just fluffed it. There's no like the same player as last season. There he does. So I don't know what he needs a rest for. If somebody can tell me why you need a rest after about 5 games, then I'd love to know. Especially him, a guy that just doesn't stop running, a real athlete, somebody with real physical attributes when it comes to stamina and stuff like that. If he's talking about resting him after 5 games, then we're in trouble. So we are. But very disappointing, very, very disappointing performance and result, because it's going to be extremely difficult to go there and get a result. We've not got a great record there. We've not got a great record away from home in Europe at any time.
Period.
But obviously you've got all that travel, you've got injuries now. You know, you've not got the quality that you really need to advance in this competition and stay there and actually make an impression in this competition. So, you know, it's going to be very difficult. It's still 0-0. We've still got a chance. We'll still have hope. But it's we've no done ourselves any favours with no winning that game the other night.
Aye, Paddy. Let's get into it then, mate. So the starting lineup first, mate. Any surprises in there for you? And also, just talk us through your thoughts on the game. We'll go back to Andy and we'll talk the second leg in a minute, mate. But just give us your thoughts, mate. Starting lineup and the game in general.
The starting lineup, Scott, for me was pretty much, the strongest lineup I could put out from the very beginning. And, the only choice for me was, are you really going to give Johnny Kenny the head start instead of Ida? And I didn't think he was ever going to do that. He was always going to give Ida the opportunity to score the goals that we needed. But, I just think the whole, we didn't start the game well at all. And I think what we did was, we allowed them to take the initiative. And as a result of that sort of set the tone, and it really did quieten down the stadium, quieten down the crowd. It was just remarkable how quiet Celtic Park was. It was it was unbelievable, and you have to keep reminding yourself that, these guys are, they're ranked in the 300s, in European terms, but there was just so many people and, so many players. There was just so many players who were so far off it. It was scary. We were a million miles of where we needed to be in terms of, the things that we do well. And it was strange, as Brendan said, on Friday night, me and the wee man were at the Falkirk game, and the determination, the drive, the intensity was there from everybody. It was a fantastic performance. And, we went away really happy on Friday night thinking, this will be, if we can just do that on Wednesday night, we'll go there with at least a 2 or 3 goal lead there without any questions at all. But for whatever reason, we didn't seem to get off to any kind of a start. As a matter of fact, as you say, they started a lot better than we did, and they looked a lot more threatening. They had got a few corners round about the edge of our box before we really even got into the danger zone at the other end. But again, just that comment there, you can say what you like about us not creating stuff, but both Kieran Tierney on the left and Alistair Johnston and Negrin on the right put some lovely balls across the 6-yard line. And when you saw the replay again, Adam Ida's standing. Yeah. He's not in where he's supposed to be. And, there was one that broke in the box, and you can actually see it's a reaction from him, not a proacting action. He's actually making a reaction. And he's, as I say, people who have played football understand the terms on your heels. That's what he is. He's on his heels all the time. He's never on his toes.
Paddy, he does know how to read a football game.
No,
that's the thing. Got a clue where he should be in timing wise. Not just positional wise. He's hopeless.
Yep. We talked before about the number of crosses that go into the box from the wide areas at Celtic. When you play up front for Celtic, Big John Hartson, I used him as an example before. Big John wasn't exactly the greatest football player ever born, but all he did was plank himself on that wee area between the penalty spot and the 6-yard line, and just finish off the moves that were coming into the box. With his feet and his head. Adam Ida just doesn't seem to have that predatory natural instinct that a number 9 should have. He just doesn't seem to have it. I don't even know what position you would say he really is, because he certainly doesn't look like an out-and-out goal scorer to me. He looks a shadow of the player that he was during his loan spell. So I just really think the time for this experiment with Ida has to come to an end. Somebody else has to be given a chance here, because this guy's just not up to it at the minute. And I think, as I say, I think that's what it was, the lack of goal scoring opportunities. When you think in that first half, they had won quite a few corners before we won our first one. They actually had the ball in the net, and it was literally inches from being ruled out because of offside. And we went in at half time, and their goalkeeper hadn't a single save to make in the entire first half. People talk about there's no easy games. I know there's no easy games in Europe, but if somebody had offered us that draw, away before the qualifiers ever started, said that no matter what happens in the shakedown, you will be facing a team from Kazakhstan in the playoff round with the first leg at Celtic Park. You'd have bit your hand off for that. You would have absolutely bitten your hand off when you see some of the other teams that we could have got.
Yep.
So I don't know what it was, Scott. There was just a malaise over us in that first half. And, as I say, that's what I say. Sometimes Celtic Park can go quiet, but, it's a two-way street. The fans need the players to produce something on the field, and they need to give them something to shout about. And unfortunately, there was just too many of our key players. Like Maida just looks a pale shadow of the player of last year. Somebody has already made that in that comment in the comments about Brendan saying about there's players there that need to realise that while they're still here and playing for Celtic, the money will still be going into their bank account. Is Dyson Maida one of the players he's talking about? I don't know. He just looks a shadow of a player that was last year. And as Andy said, they've all had a good rest over the summer. They've come back. They've gone through pre-season. They're none of them carrying injuries worth talking about. So I don't understand how this tiredness is here when you're only, they're at the minute they're still only playing like at the maximum of 2 games a week. They're professional footballers. How can you be tired? People have to go to their work every single day. So it was just one of those, Scott, really, really disappointing game. We never gave the supporters anything to shout about. We never give them anything to really get excited about. The best that we played was in the first sort of 5 or 10 minutes of the second half. And I think Yang was the reason for that. I think Yang brought a bit of intensity, and he brought a bit of drive. And for a start, he seemed to do what nobody else did in the first half. He wanted to get the ball down and attack his man and get the ball into the box. And that's exactly what he done. But again, there was no takers. And the fact that they had to yank Ida at half time, just tells you everything. Shin Yamada just looks so far off the pace in terms of his fitness, so that's the other thing. So we really don't have very many options at all. So it was a disappointing, really disappointing end of the game. And at the finish, we were kind of clutching at straws, thinking that even if we could get one goal here, it would give us something out there to defend. But it was never going to be. The game just eventually petered out, and it just has to be one of the most disappointing performances and one of the most disappointing results that we've ever had. And I just hope and trust and pray that it doesn't cost us in the second leg, because we've left ourselves an awful lot to do. We really have an uphill task now when you see what's in front of us. But it wasn't one we'll want to see over again, Scott.
Yeah, so let's have a chat about that then, lads. We're not going to get an opportunity to sort of speak about it before the game, Andy. So with AJ out, it's something I know that we've spoke about on this pod and on previous pods, mate, about Celtic going to a 3-5-2. Is this the time to maybe give that a go over there, to stifle them a wee bit, play the 3 centre-halves, put Kieran Tierney in that sort of forward position a bit more where he likes to go anyway? Is that something you'd like to see Celtic try? And how do you see the second leg going, Andy? Do you think we're going to get through the tie?
I certainly hope we're going to get through the tie. I think it's very questionable, and I don't want to be doom and gloom, but it's not going to be easy. It certainly isn't. And it's not down to the quality we're up against. It's the fact that we can't travel in Europe. Very rarely do we actually travel in Europe and get a positive result. The pressure's really on us as well. I would love to go a 3-5-2 if AJ was still in the team. I think it's an ideal situation, because we could mix it up in the midfield there as well. And having 2 up front, whether you have them dead on together or in a kind of staggered 9-10 situation, is either way, whatever you want to go. But I think, it'd be good to try something different. I just don't know if Ralston would be suited to that, being up in that kind of midfield position. So if AJ was, because he's shown this season that him and KT have been a real attacking threat for the full-back position, almost wingers, the boys they're putting in the box and the contribution they're putting into the game. I just don't know if I've got the personnel for it now, to be honest with you. I'd love to see it, but I can't see it happening. Pusey, I just wonder if he's going to come in against Livi and maybe then appear on Tuesday night as well. So obviously we've not seen any of him as well. Is he going to play now? By the way, we've not had any CCV injuries yet as well in Europe, so that's still to come. It's an annual thing. So, without being quite doom and gloom. It could get worse, for that situation defensively, because something's going to happen to him. It always does. So I think it'll be interesting to see if Pusey gets a run out against Livi. Be good to see him and maybe get a wee appearance in Tuesday as well. Maybe he'll come off the bench against Livi. We'll get a wee look at him and see where he is fitness-wise and all that kind of thing. But only Celtic can do things like that. Bring in a lone player who's absolutely needed is the reason why you're bringing in a lone player and he's no fit. So that's a right Celtic thing to do. Going to Kazakhstan, you've got a journey. I think the altitude, they're quite high up there as well. So, the sooner we can get there and acclimatise to that, the better. And I think it may be kind of quite warm there as well. I'm not sure what the kind of temperatures are there, but I think it might be a wee bit warm as well. So you've got that to deal with. We're going to be up against it here. And I'm not scared of them as a team. I'm scared of us. I'm scared of us going there and no performing. So it's going to be a hiding behind your hands kind of night. I think it's, listen, they looked nervous at Celtic Park. So we'll see how their nerves are when they've travelled all that distance, and the pressure really is on. It's a must-win game.
It certainly is, mate. And Paddy, the reason I'm saying a 3-5-2 is because I want to squeeze your man Engels into this team somehow. And that's how I see it happening. We've got three guys sat on the bench, and McCowan, Bernardo and Engels, who can't get in the team at the minute.
Yeah.
But it leaves Nigrin, to, as Andy said, maybe play that false number 9 and maybe play Maeda, up front. That would be the opportunity to maybe have your Nigrin and your Maeda up front. Yeah. Bring Engels into the team. But also, I think Bernardo and McCowan are going to see a bit of action tomorrow as well. So Brendan can say to the 3 boys, go and grab that jersey on Tuesday night. Go and show me what you can do. Get the 3 of them involved tomorrow. How do you see the tactics on Tuesday night, and how do you see the game going, mate? Are we getting through?
It's going to be very, very tough for us. It really is. The only thing I will say, and I think some people have gone a wee bit too far. They've got off the deep end about it. At the end of the day, we're still very much in the tie. And we have to go and win a football match. It's as simple as that. We have to go and win a football match. And we're not going to the San Siro, or we're not going to the Bernabeu, or the Nou Camp. We're going to one of the minnows of European football. So we shouldn't be fearing this tie in any way, shape, or form. Listen, the first leg's gone. That's finished with. So let's see how we get on tomorrow. Brendan will be hoping and praying that there'll be no more injuries. That's why I think you could see a few changes tomorrow. I think as Andy said, the likes of Carter Vickers, I don't think we'll see him tomorrow. I think he'll wrap him in cotton wool. Maybe Kieran Tierney as well. Maybe even Dyson Maeda. There'll be 1 or 2 guys that he'll be key players, like Callum McGregor, that he'll say, right, we cannot afford to have any of these guys picking up an injury against Livingston. If something doesn't go against Livingston, we have the whole season to put that right. But we need these guys ready for this game on Tuesday night. That's the one that the money's riding on. As Andy said about the journey for Celtic will start on Sunday. They're actually travelling on Sunday. Yeah, they're traveling on Sunday morning. As far as I know, it's something like a 10-hour, 12-hour flight or something out there. But and we said this before. Celtic are not going. They're not going to be traveling by EasyJet or Ryanair. They're going to be going in a luxurious plane. There'll be sleeping arrangements and all. It's not as bad as people suggest. But it's going to be the conditions out there. I read there that their last league game, I think whatever day it was before the Celtic game on the Tuesday or the Wednesday night, the temperature was in the 40s. It really was hot and sticky. And then they play at altitude. I think a couple of the Kairat players have already come out and said that there's going to be a big hostile crowd, waiting for Celtic. So it's going to be a difficult atmosphere for the players. But as I say, we need to just get it, look at it in the entirety, and that's what it is. We need to go and win a game of football. And I don't see any reason. I didn't see anything from them. They've 1 or 2 neat and tidy players, and the wee guy that's probably their best player, he's suspended obviously because of the yellow card that he picked up towards the end of the game. I think most of the problems that we had with them was of our own making. The way we played, we made them look like Barcelona. Let's be honest now. They didn't really create much by themselves. It was our it was our shortcomings that made them look a bit better than they really are. So I would like to think if we get, our best team on the park and we get there in time to prepare properly, I would like to think and hope that we have enough to get through. We certainly have enough quality in the squad. There's no question that we could have done with a bit more quality to come in, but we certainly didn't need to be worrying about bringing players in, just to beat a team like that. So I would be very, very hopeful, Scott, that we can go out there and get the job done. As Andy said, it's the imponderables that you don't really know about that could come into play. But as for the tactics, Scott, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure about Brendan. I don't know that he's going to, change from the tried and test it. Though I would love to see Celtic going with, even this game tomorrow. Try and what would be wrong in having a back three of Scales, Carter, Vickers, and Tierney, playing with three, having that back three. That would allow you to play another man wide on the left and another man wide on the right, and stick another man through the middle as well. You know what I mean? So, but Brendan's very, very stuck in his ways. He doesn't really change from formation, and he admitted himself that was the problem towards the end of the game, that they were trying to shoehorn players into positions that they weren't comfortable with. He described it as square pegs and round holes, and you can only do that so many times before you get caught out. I really don't see him, putting his reputation and in a game of this magnitude on Tuesday night. I don't see him changing his formation for that. He'll probably just revert back to the tried and test it. But when you look at the team, Scott, if we can get the likes of Rio Hatate playing, if we can get the likes of Callum McGregor firing, if we can get Jamesy firing, we should have enough for this team. We really should have enough. Despite the fact that we didn't play well, in the second half, especially the first 10 or 15 minutes of the second half, we created enough and we dominated the ball enough that we could have scored 2 or 3 goals in that wee spell at the beginning of the second half. So that does give me hope for the second leg. So, but listen, we just take it one game at a time, as we always do. So I'm looking at this game tomorrow as, with the injuries and stuff that we're having, there's 1 or 2 players there like the wee guy from Man City. There's 1 or 2 guys that could maybe play their way into Brendan's thoughts for the game on Wednesday. Paulo Bernardo will be champing at a bit. Luke McCowan will certainly be champing at a bit. There's a chance for these guys, to go and make a name for themselves, So tomorrow against Livingston, we'll probably get a chance to see some of them. But as for changing his tactics, Scott, I would love to see it, but I really don't see it happening.
Aye. I think we'll go through, lads. I'm with Stephen, commented earlier. Hopefully we can even batter them 1-0. That'll do us. I think we've got enough in the tank. I think they're missing 4 of their key players as well, I believe. So, like you said, we should have enough in the tank. We've got a phenomenal midfield. We've got 3 cracking midfield players sitting on the bench doing nothing. I think we should flood the midfield with these great players that we've got, and just we've got enough quality to win the game for sure. So good luck to the boys on Tuesday night.
They're all attacking minded players, Scott, as well as you said. Luke McCowan, Paul Bernard, these guys want to get forward. These guys they're not defensive minded midfielders. These guys are the sort of guys that want to get the ball down and play and get the ball forward and get the ball forward into the box, and they're all capable of scoring goals as well. So the likes of this game on Wednesday night, the more guys on the field that you have that are capable of scoring a goal, that's what you want. You want as many guys like that on the field as you can in this game, because if we can score 1, that's going to make it really, really tough for them out there. 2 goals scored by us away from home is going to be enough to get us through there. There's no question of that, So that's the way we should be looking at it. We need to go out and we need to go away from home, and we need to do a thoroughly professional job, and we need to go and win a football match 2-0. It's as simple as that.
Aye, bang on, mate. Absolutely bang on. So the lads have came away with a few gripes that the supporters have, and there's been a few in the comments as well. But one fan group released a statement earlier on, a couple of days ago it was now, and it was the boys Celtic on their Instagram page. They've came away with this bold statement. It's 3 pages long, lads, so bear with me. I'm as blind as a bat, so I'm just waiting for it to come on my TV. So they're saying, back the team, hold the board accountable. On Wednesday night, we joined thousands of Celtic fans throughout the stadium in chanting, sack the board. For us, this chant was not just about one poor result in a European qualifying campaign. Although the last 2 decades have seen many of those, often due to a lack of timely investment to strengthen our playing squad, something many of our managers have called out during their time here. While sacking the board may not be a realistic demand, such chants are one of the few methods of aiding discontent available to us due to the way our club operate. For us, this is about the board's continuous incompetence and total disregard of the opinions of Celtic fans, as Andy said, who spend thousands of pounds every season supporting the club and see little to no return on investment, either in the playing squad, the stadium, and the matchday experience, to name just a few grievances. I'm just waiting for this second one to load up. Bear with me. Yeah, so examples include the recent season ticket price increase for 25-26 season. These were justified by the club as necessary to cover the recent national minimum wage and national insurance increases for matchday staff, while we have tens of millions of pounds in the bank. The severe lack of investment into an ageing stadium, with ordinary fans seeing no improvements of their matchday experience over many years. The lack of transparency around ticketing, tickets for away matches becoming more difficult to attain for fans who have attended matches for years, a dysfunctional ticketing office, and a slow march towards pricing increases throughout Scotland, which our club are complicit in. The fan survey, which was undertaken a year ago with much fanfare from the club, yet the results are still unreleased and excuse after excuse is given as to why not. The lack of meaningful engagement and unwillingness to work with active fan groups to improve matchday atmosphere at times, descending into a total farce, such as a suspended ban currently imposed on the Green Brigade. And finally, unwillingness to explore or work towards a Celtic end, one of the key results of the fan survey, despite many examples now of other clubs in Scotland working proactively with their active fan organisations. This total refusal to increase standing capacity, despite overwhelming demand, leads to solutions such as fencing off parts of the stadium and introducing enhanced security checks with no regard for fan safety. The lack of update on or release of the Fairhurst inquiry into the unacceptable kettling of Celtic fans nearly 5 months on. Wednesday night was just one poor result, but taken with the above issues, highlights our many grievances with the way the club is run. While we may still win the tie and we may strengthen the squad this transfer window, the issues outlined above are just some of many which will not change without the accountability and transparency from the Celtic board. So Andy, some scathing points in there from the boys' Celtic statement. Just go through it, mate. Is there any in there that sort of stand out for you that you want to talk about, mate?
Aye, definitely valid points. Just touching on the end one about the kettling of Celtic fans, another issue that hasn't been resolved. You know, answers haven't been given about that. An absolute disgraceful situation that happened there. Also, the barriers that were put up, we spoke about it. I can't even mind when the last pod was, but we did bring it up. I think it was me. It was me and Kaiser, I think, with his. What was it? Was it a post-match? Kaiser was talking about it. It was a Friday night game. It was a Friday night game. Aye. It was the next day. Me and Kaiser were talking about it. I didn't see it for where I was in the stadium. But obviously, we've seen pictures of it. It's just an absolute disgrace. The way the Celtic board are so disengaged for the fan base is pretty unbelievable. Just when you consider that, all right, that when it comes to business-wise, they've done a fairly good job when it comes to bringing money on player sales and stuff like that. But we're the lifeblood of the club. The season ticket holders, the people that go and buy the jerseys, the people that will go and invest in Celtic TV and obviously paid for games as well, European packages for Champions League if that's the case, or Europa League. We're still going to expect Celtic fans to dish out for that, you know. And honestly, just there's so many issues and a lot more than what was listed there as well. We could go on and on about the disgruntled fans and the way they're being treated. And for me personally, the way I feel about it is just a total lack of communication. Absolutely nothing comes out the club today with the fans unless you know. I'm pretty sure everybody that's in the comments here, and yourselves included in the panel here, they get emails off of Celtic. You know, so every day you're getting an email off of Celtic and it'll be about this event and that event, and you know, there's an opportunity here to do this and that, and you get absolutely hee-haw. And if they're putting out in a tweet about something, or X, whatever it's called now, it's wishing an ex-player happy birthday and all that. That's the only communication you get or engagement between the club and the fans. There's no real kind of issues getting resolved. And again, this survey that was taken and still not been published is an absolute farce. It's an absolute farce that this whole club, starting for the top, has got to get something done about it. It needs it. I don't know what we're all saying sack the board. That's not going to happen. They're not going to sack themselves, right? But they need to remember that they don't own this club. Dermot Desmond doesn't own this club. He's a majority single shareholder. That's it. How he gets so much clout and so much say in what goes on at our club is beyond me. He's not got a control and share in the club, you know. So, and the more they push against the fans, the more they're going to dig themselves a bigger hole. And I'm not going to go back to the 90s of how the fans pushed to get change. I don't think we're at that stage. There's very simple things that need to be done. Start communicating with the fans for a start. There's a start. And start being serious about the issues that have been highlighted here, because nothing gets done. There's no response for them. It's just an absolutely sickening situation. Every day I look at certain things that are getting said, and you're sickened with the lack of response. Fair, you know, because they see us as customers. That's the problem. We've got the club at heart, so we're going to do everything we can to support the club. Even if you don't agree with things, you're still going to go and buy a shirt. You're still going to go and buy your season ticket because you're scared to get up. And really, it takes people to make a stand. But I don't think that's going to happen. That's how they know they can get away with it. They can treat the fans like shit, and they're still going to turn up, and they're still going to buy stuff, and that's why they do it. They should be ashamed of themselves. They need to separate the whole business side of things and the whole back to the business that they're in as football and entertainment. And it's not just that, because we are more than a club. This is our life. You know, that's why we can come on a podcast twice a week and after every game. It's not to stick our faces out on YouTube so people like us, no that shite. It's because we want to talk about Celtic because we love Celtic, and so do the people that watch us. They seem to be in a different planet for the fan base. They absolutely sicken me. They sicken me to the pit of my stomach.
Aye, you know, it's a very scathing statement, Paddy. You're one of these guys that, you know, travels over from Ireland for every game, mate, and you try and get to the away games as well. You know, it is sickening. Like Andy said, if the board could only see guys like yourself, you know, and other fans as well, not just yourself, but I'm using you as an example, mate, about how much you put in, you know, to go and actually see Celtic. They don't see you getting on boats at 4 o'clock in the morning and things like that, you know, and other fans. And, you know, it's just, as Andy said, it is sickening that, you know, look at all this money we've got. We'll spend it. You know, it's our money. We're buying these taps. We're buying, you know, all these different things after the club. You know, the season tickets or the rest of it. Start spending our money. It's not yours. It's yours.
And the sickening thing, Scott, as Andy said, for me is, you know, if you just even look at this transfer window that we're in, and we're not looking at the entire money that they have in the bank. We're not looking at that at all. We're simply looking at the money that they brought in for Kyogo and the money that they brought in for Nicholas Kuhn. So there's 27 million or whatever that figure amounts to. You know, so that just that money alone should have been given to Brendan as soon as it came across the table to say, right, there we go. Let's reinvest this. This is money that two players have gone out And we've brought in really good money. It was a really good deal for a player of Kyogo's age. It was a fantastic deal for Nicholas Kuhn, even though we were disappointed to see him go. But there's 25, 26, 27 million should have been given to Brendan right away to say, right, there you go. Get out and get yourself 2 replacements there. But it wasn't. And the one thing that comes through loud and clear, and not only in Andy's comments, but also the statement there, and the guys who are actually watching and commenting on this tonight, is it's communication with a capital C. That's where they fall down. It's for a massive organisation the size of Celtic Football Club, the communication with their supporters and their financial backers is absolutely laughable, because there just is no communication. There isn't, and you're not allowed to criticise them. If you criticise them, you're accused of being a malcontent or whatever. There's just no, and as Andy said the other night, this debate about people singing sack the board or not singing sack the board. Where else are they going to voice their concerns? Where else can we voice our concerns? We don't have another forum that we can do that. It's probably the only organisation that you belong to that you're not allowed to voice an opinion if you're a shareholder, or if you're, fair enough. A lot of us maybe don't actually own shares, but we put in more money than some of the guys who own the shares. When you think of the money that gets spent on traveling, on season tickets, on 4 strips every season, you know what I mean? When you're at the game, how come we can't have an opinion, or how come we can't say say how we feel? And it's just absolutely scandalous the way that we're, I always feel that, when they actually do say something, they find it really hard to hide their contempt for us. They absolutely find it hard to hide the absolute contempt they have for the ordinary, man on the street supporter. They just cannot, and this is what I'm saying. These guys, somebody published the figures the other day. When you see the salaries that they're taking out, Michael Nicholson there, something like over 800,000 a year for doing what? Could somebody explain to me what he's actually doing? You know what I mean?
Paddy, I don't even know what his voice sounds like.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying.
That's
Andy.
shocking as a chief executive.
We don't know who these people
an
are.
Organisation like Celtic,
we don't know who these people are, but as I say, there are millions of people like myself and you guys as well that are basically bankrolling these people, and because we're doing that, we have every right to say, listen, what's your plans here, and listen, I get that. I get it. It's hard. It is hard to bring in players. Like, people forget sometimes that the SPFL is not a great sell. Sometimes if you're talking to players who are used to living in the south of France or, northern Spain or something like that, it's difficult to persuade those guys to come to the East End of Glasgow. I get all that. You know what I mean? But, if they would just come out and tell us what's happening, like, give us an explanation. It's the way they've done it recently, the way they have left Brendan Rodgers in the position that he's in. It's embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing. Like, you wouldn't get the Manchester United manager or the Liverpool manager having to come out and make excuses for what's going on upstairs or in the boardroom, or, it's absolutely embarrassing. Like, that's what I feel for Brendan. I really do feel for him every time he's in front of the camera, because the guy, he just looks lost sometimes, and as if, like, what more can I say here? What more do you guys want me to say?
I've no heard MD mention this in the comments. What if we get Celtic TV for? Yeah. We've got a club channel there sitting doing fucking absolutely nothing, by the way.
Yeah.
Baron showing buffering games on the channel.
Yeah.
Let him on for a Q&A with the fans once a week.
Yeah. And
let the fans ask him questions.
Yeah. And somebody actually mentioned that in the comment there. Like, even just for ourselves, I would like to sit down. I would like to have a conversation with Michael Nicholson and say to him, Michael, you see the difference for me between us qualifying for the Champions League and not qualifying for the Champions League. It's going to set the tone for my wee man and whoever else travel. That's going to set the tone for us for at least half of this season. If we fall into the Europa League, gone are the Saturday games where I can travel on the Saturday, rest on the Sunday, and go back to work on Monday. We're going to have at least 8 Europa League games between now and the beginning of January. So there's 8 games that we're going to be playing on a Thursday night. That's 8 Sundays. And that doesn't include the other games that will get moved to Sunday for TV as well. The first half of our season in the league is going to be played on a Sunday. And we're then going to be, the Irish fans are going to be back travelling late home on a Sunday night for work on a Monday morning. So I would like to be able to say to somebody in the club, that's what this club means to us. That's why we get so worked up about it. That's why we get so embroiled in it, because it means it's your life. That's your life, and you don't want to see your life, being made any more difficult than it already is. And so the fact that the board don't back Brendan and bring in players to allow us to qualify for the Champions League has a real knock-on effect for every supporter, but especially us as well, for the guys who travel. So, but Scott, without that platform where there is nowhere I can go. You can, like, who do you talk to about it? Who do you say? And if some of them would even come out once a week and give a press conference and say, guys, this is what we're at here. This is where we're at. We're almost there with 2 players, or we've tried to get this player. I don't expect them to divulge details of names and stuff, but if they would at least even come out and say, look, this is what we're trying to do, or whatever. But and that's what happens, as Andy said, whenever there's no communication, then that all that does is create a vacuum. And in any other vacuum, that's what happens. People start imagining things. People start making up their own version of it and stuff like that. And that's where all the stories come from. So it's a massive, massive fall down by the board. The lack of communication for a club and an entity the size of Celtic Football Club is absolutely staggering. And you're right, Scott. You're absolutely right. It's been a pet hate of mine for years. And I'll just make the point when I'm here. I've said for years that Celtic Football Club, I'm talking about abroad and all over the world. I'm talking about Canada, South America. I'm talking about New Zealand, Australia. Celtic Football Club is not being marketed the way that we should do for a club of our size. We are not being marketed. And I'm sorry, if these guys that are in position don't have the skills and don't have the they don't have the desire to do that marketing, well, then step aside and let somebody else in who will. Please just step aside and let somebody else in who will, because we should be an absolute giant when it comes to the brand name, the brand name of Celtic Football Club. How many times have we said that? It doesn't matter what corner of the globe that you happen to be in, you'll see somebody coming out of a bar with a Celtic shirt on. And that's I still maintain that this club is not being marketed properly. We do not make the money on the name of Celtic that we should do. They're quite content just to fleece their own supporters base and make that money every single year. So that would be my plea to them. Listen, you just need to improve the communication. The Green Brigade, the boys' statement as well, it's coming through loud and clear. They're frustrated beyond belief because nobody's listening. Nobody's coming out and explaining exactly what the reasons for this are. Look at that carry on the other night with the turnstiles and inside the stadium they put up, people go in and they have barriers up all of a sudden and they're being told you can only go in. I heard one guy actually saying that he actually went to the toilet and because he'd left his season ticket in his wife's handbag and she was still in the seat, they wouldn't let him back to his seat because he didn't have the ticket with him. It's absolutely crazy what's going on with paying customers. If that wouldn't happen to you in Tesco, it wouldn't happen in Sainsbury's. If you're a paying customer in there, they'll be falling over themselves to look after you. But it just seems to be the opposite way with us. And as I said to you earlier, it's just they just treat us with contempt, absolute contempt.
Scotty, I caught one of the AXOM shows during the week. I think it was Kev Graham actually was talking about it, saying when he left the stadium, I think he usually goes under the tunnel at Jane Field Street to go and get his bus. That's the quickest route, and it was stopped for doing that. They were making him walk all the way around the stadium to get it. Absolutely. I mean, I know it sounds a simple thing, but it's such a fucking bullshit situation. To be treating a guy that spends a fortune at a club, just like every other fan, every other season. I'm not a season ticket holder myself. I've been on the waiting list for 6 years. But if I was a season ticket holder, I'd be absolutely livid that, for no reason that they're stopping you if you try to access your bus, your supporters' bus to get back up the road. After a performance like that, you're having to walk all the way around the stadium.
I imagine you were struggling with your mobility and stuff like that,
It's just it's an absolute joke, mate. I mean, there's so much. You could spend a whole podcast talking about just even one or two issues. Never mind that it's an arm's length, a list of things that you can complain about with the club. As Paddy said, the communication, but certainly from his point of view, and we've spoken about this before, we're actually going to get Paddy to do a vlog and show people what it takes just to come here for one game, what's involved with that, and the fact that you need to go to work the next day as well. So he's absolutely right when it comes to dropping down into Europa League, that the situation that totally changes for him as a fan. So there's so many issues that need to get resolved.
Aye, well said, lads. Well said indeed, and well said on the comments as well. If anybody knows anybody on the Celtic board, just send them this podcast tonight, and hopefully that gives them the wee bit up the arse that they might need. So, as you know, ladies and gentlemen, we are playing the mighty Andy's second favourite team in the world, Livingston, tomorrow. So he's done his a wee segment. I will hand it over to yourself, Andy. You can play the intro and then explain it away, my man.
Okay.
Wet ones, Davy.
What one's Davy? I have the 4 voice clips. I will play them all one after the other. And I basically want you to tell me what one's Davy? Davy Martindale, the manager of the superb Livingston football, the institution that is Livingston Football Club, with
Right.
somebody's fucking living room carpet as a pitch. So here is voice number 1.
The way it affected us was kind of gutted and all that and whatever, all that, but that's about it.
Okay, that is voice number 1. Don't make your choices yet. There's still some voices to come. Here is voice number 2.
I'm Craig Hall, which is further along this way, but I'd stop a bit here. I wouldn't be seen to do here, because I'd just get my head kicked in.
Okay, that is voice number 2. I know it's a difficult decision. It's like, I definitely know that voice. Here is voice number 3.
Here's skinheads, this is wellhoods, and mostly the bottom part, it's the worst. That's where mostly all the fighting that happens.
Okay, that is voice number 3. Very, very tough. Very, very tough. And here we have the final voice, number 4.
Came out of prison in 2010, and I think that was a massive reset in my life, that period. But it shows you what's important in your life, and family's important, right? So.
Okay. Okay, so the only thing that is left to do is to ask you.
Wet ones, Davy.
Wet ones, Davy. Number 1, number 2, number 3, or number 4. Scott, I'll come to you first.
Well, it was a tough decision, Andy. It could have been any one of the 4, but I'm going to go for number 4.
Oh, are you sure?
I'm not sure because fucking could be any one of them.
Paddy, this is mental, isn't it? It's just crazy.
That was a tough one. That really was.
Aye, who you got to go for, Paddy?
I was thinking very, very much number 3 until I heard number 4. So I'm going to go with Scott and continue number 4. But I was seriously considering number 3. But I'm going to go for number 4.
Number 4. Aye. So let's play it again just so we know what we're talking about here. Here is both of your choices. Who you think is Mr. David Martindale?
Came out of prison in 2010, and I think that was a massive reset in my life, that period. But it shows you what's important in your life, and family's important, right? So.
Absolutely correct. That was David Martindale. And by the way, what a trackie that is, isn't it? That's a right 90s shell suit. Aye. Did you notice a machete in his on as well? Aye, that's sorry. So, you were absolutely correct. The other 3 were just Glasgow gang members. So you can understand why it was such a difficult task to pick out what one's Davy.
Yeah.
So well done.
Thank you so much, Andy. That was brilliant. That was
Wet ones, Davy.
Oh, fucking brilliant, sir. So we're just going to leave you. We've got one more thing to talk about, ladies and gentlemen, obviously, and it is the SPFL Premiership fixtures for the weekend. The only one that we're really interested in is that one at the top. There is a fixture on Sunday as well. The mighty St Mirren take on the Rangers, who will be they're under severe pressure as it is. Russell Martin is on a shaky peg, so I might have a wee punt on St Mirren on Sunday. But let's talk about that game at the top there, Andy. Celtic versus Livingston. Brendan said he's going to ring the changes. Which are starting 11, mate? We know that Trusty, Ida, Jota, AJ, they're definitely out. Paddy came away with a cracker earlier. I think he's going to rest the likes of Cameron Carter-Vickers, KT. We expect to see Engels, McCowan, Bernardo possibly get a start as well. Maybe Shin Yamada, or are you saying Johnny Kenny? What team are you picking, mate? Give me your starting 11. And what's your prediction for the scoreline as well, mate?
So I'm going to go with Sinisalo in goals. I know it doesn't have to change a goalie, but I think he will. It's an opportunity to do that. Going to go with Ralston. I'm going to go with Murray in defence. And I'm going to go with Pusey as well to start. I'm going to go with Scales at left back. I think he will. DKT a rest for this midweek game coming up. That's obviously isn't going to be the case, but it's my pick, so I get to pick whoever I want. I'm going to go with Bernardo, Engels, and McCowan in midfield.
I'd like to see that, mate. I'd like to see that.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Shin up front, and I'm going to go with Nygren on the right and Yang on the left. So no Maeda.
Yeah,
and I'm going to go with 4-1 Celtic.
4-1. Okay, mate.
Yep.
Okay. I think it's pretty obvious he's got to rest Maeda. Due to his comments in the press conference about him not being able to rest him, then this is the perfect case. Paddy, it's a lottery tomorrow what team Brendan's going to pick. Andy's come away with quite a left field starting 11 there. But, I don't think he's too far off, to be honest with you. Yep. What sort of starting 11 are you looking at, mate? And what do you think the scoreline will be?
I think he will make things, he'll freshen things up tomorrow, Scott. And it's not because anybody particularly needs a rest. It's just because he's going to rattle a lot of guys in cotton wool for this game on Tuesday. All the games are important, but as I say, we should have more than enough in that squad to take care of Livingston tomorrow. But he cannot afford to have any more key players picking up injuries. So I'm going to go with Sinisalo in goal. Back four is going to be Anthony Ralston at right back. I'm going to stick with Kieran Tierney at left back because Kieran needs the minutes in his legs. My two centre halves are going to be Dean Murray and Liam Scales. Midfield three is going to be completely changed. Going to go for Arne Engels, Luke McCowan, and Paulo Bernardo. And my front three are going to be Yang and Nygren on the wings with Shin Yamada through the middle. And we'll have the likes of Johnny Kenny, and we can have Callum McGregor and Rio Hatate. We can have these guys on the bench just in case things are maybe not going well. But as I say, even with that team, with all those changes ahead for Tuesday night in mind, we should have more than enough in the bank to take care of Livingston at Celtic Park. So I'm going to go for a 3-0 Celtic win. And I definitely think he will make changes. He will make big changes to the team tomorrow because Tuesday night, I know football players and football managers don't like looking beyond the next game, but there's absolutely no question that Brendan will have one eye on Tuesday night. You saw what happened with Alistair Johnston in the blink of an eye. He simply cannot afford to have that happen to Cameron Carter-Vickers or Callum McGregor or Dyson Maeda. He just can't have that happen. So I think there will be major changes, and these guys, some of these guys will have a wee chance to play themselves into the team for Tuesday night.
No, I think you're bang on. I think we've time to make up in the league if it does go a bit Pete Tong tomorrow in any way, shape or form. But we don't have time to make up for Tuesday night. It's all or nothing on Tuesday night. It's red or black. It's as simple as that, mate. We've got to go for it. And I I think there's going to be a whole host of changes, maybe 6 or 7 tomorrow. I expect us to beat them. You know, they've had a good start to the season. Let's just have a quick look at the league table. I know it's only 2 games in, ladies and gentlemen, but you can see that, you know, that they have started well. As much as we don't want to give them too much praise, they're sitting in third after 2 games. I know it doesn't mean much at this time of the season, but fair dues to them. They have started well. They've managed to get 4 points out of 6 in their first 2 games. I don't think MD was expecting that sort of start for them, so it's not going to be easy. They always do give us a hard game, home and away. But hopefully we've got enough in the tank. Hopefully these boys are going to try and grab the jersey for Tuesday night. And I'm actually with Paddy. I'm going to go for a 3-0 as well for Celtic. I think there's going to be a lot of guys with a lot of points to prove, tomorrow. And hopefully the boys can, regardless, just get the 3 points and we're injury free.
Especially Bernardo and Engels as well, because Engels has been pushed out of the team with Nygren. If we can somehow get Nygren and Engels, I think the 2 of them could shine, because we spoke about Engels saying that, you know, his second season, we're going to see the best of him. So let's wait and see what happens there. So,
yeah, Paddy's not quite took the posters down. He's got a half and half one now, Nygren and Engels, he told me just in the green room before we came on. So he's still looming and on about who he's going to keep up. No, I agree with Andy. I'd like to see Engels and Nygren in the same team, and if we can accommodate the both of them, that's where I think that 3-5-2 would come in perfectly. We could get the both of them in. We could get Nygren in behind the striker, and maybe if we are comfortable enough tomorrow, maybe in the 70th minute, maybe change the tactics to that and see if it sort of works. And maybe that's an option, but that's why he gets the pop stars wages, as we said. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. If this is your first time watching the show, please like, share and subscribe. We're nearly at 2,000 subscribers already, Andy, innit? I think we're just past our 1 year anniversary as well.
Yeah, just past 1 year. I think we're about 48 away from 2,000. So if you haven't subscribed yet, just do us a favour and press that, because we really want to get to 2,000. It's a wee target ours. So hopefully that will happen soon, mate. Aye,
only been gone a year. Let's just have a quick chat about that before we go, actually, Paddy. We reached out to some people on social media, and luckily, by the grace of God, we managed to get yourself on board along with your Jerry straight away. How's the year been for you, mate?
Hard to believe it's a year, Scott. Really did. Remember sitting out there seeing it coming through. I was on holiday abroad and I saw it coming through, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna get in touch with these guys just to see what way it develops. And hard to believe a year later. I know some people in the comments might think it's longer, having listened to me rambling on, but it's been a brilliant year for us. It's just been such fun doing it. People realise that we're just ordinary guys. We're not here to try to be big time Charlies or anything like that. We're just giving our opinion like everybody else, and it's just our opinions. My opinion's no more valuable than anybody else's. But it's been a blast with the guys. You know, everybody on the panel, just real good lads, real good people. And you can see there we've managed to build and establish our own wee community now. You can see the same names and the same people who are commenting, the same people who are contributing, week in, week out to the pod. And you can also see in the comments how much enjoyment people are getting from it. And that's all it's about. It's just about giving people something that they'll watch and something that they'll enjoy and come back to. And I like to think that when you see some of the other pods out there, that we give a wee bit of variety there. The quizzes and the things that we do, it's to give you a giggle along the way. Because if you're left sitting and talking about Celtic all the time, it can be maybe a bit mundane and a bit boring. So that's why we try to make it up as we go. So no, it's been a blast. It's been brilliant. It's been absolutely brilliant. It couldn't have gone any better. And the fact that we go out live on Planet Celtic on Facebook, if you've not had a chance to look at that, go on, have we look there as well. We're still trying to grow it, and so anybody who's maybe watching for the first couple of times, get it done, hit the like, hit the subscribe, tell your pals, all the rest of it. So cheers, guys. It's just been a blast the whole year.
It certainly has, and thanks to our Kaiser, our Michelle, who was on before as well, and our Davey Wilson, who joined us. Every day has been a part of this channel and made it what it is, ladies and gentlemen. So get us to that 2,000. That would be fantastic. In the space of a year, to get 2,000 subscribers is unbelievable. Andy?
I just want to touch on something Paddy mentioned was the community and the people that come on and comment and watch us and all that. We try and get as many comments up as we want, and we actually had somebody saying, going to keep the comments up for longer so we can read it. It's that catch-22 situation. They go up that quick that you're scared you're going to miss one, so you feel as if you're going to have to press them all to make sure everybody gets their comment up. So we will take it. We take criticism as well, so if it can improve the show, then this is what you like to watch, and we appreciate every one of you that come on and spend your time with us, because otherwise it would just be talking to each other. So it's fantastic. All funny people as well, great comments, really informative people as well that come on and watch us and have very different opinions. So we try and discuss them if we can. The problem you've got with a podcast is Scotty will tell you when it comes to prep, it takes a long time, so you try to run to a certain time. So you do try and mix it up with comments if we can possibly fit it into the time scale that we've got. But we certainly appreciate every single person that comes on and contributes in the comments and watches us as well and takes part in the show, because at the end of the day, the viewers and the commenters are an integral part of this podcast as the guys that are on talking as well.
Aye, and you guys certainly make it easier for us. There will be no more red wine podcasts, I can assure you. That is in the
once a year. That's only once a year they happen.
That's in the YouTube archives, never to be seen again. Don't worry about that. Thank you so much. We'll be back with you tomorrow for a post-match show. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Paddy. Thank you to Kaiser, who's in the chat as well. Hopefully, our Jerry will be back soon as well. And we've got another couple of guests that like to pop in every now and again that will hopefully get back on soon as well. Thank you so much. That was a brilliant show for only having the three of us on. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the post-match show.
Sorry, Scott. I just want to say, Keith that was going to join us, Keith come on the Hoop Celtic, was going to come on and join us, but he had to go and get a flight. So unfortunately, the time scale, he couldn't come on. So I just safe flight. Hope you get Dublin all right, mate.
That's us, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. On the hoops.
On the hoops.
He will.
With the four-leaf clover on my breast, and the green and white upon my chest, it's such a joy for us to see, for they play football the Celtic way, for they play football the Celtic way, for they play football the Celtic way, 'cause they play football